Welcome to another episode of Resilient Riches. We have a tremendous guest for us, Jennifer Cohen. We look at resilience and we talk about money and how our money is going to last us forever. Then we talk about health, wellness, all these other things that we look at that build real riches that allow us to last forever. When I see the epitome of health, persistence, being bold, taking on life by the horns when everything's against you and obstacles and overcoming serious challenges in life, I look at Jennifer Cohen and she's the idol. She's the role model of everybody. She also did come from Canada, which is really, really hard to come to the States. My father here can also attest to that. But not only has Jennifer been such a pioneer in her own life through health, wellness, different companies, entrepreneurship, writing books, speaking, she's actually become a pioneer in the Israel advocacy movement. It's not very normal for a lot of people to speak out. And Jennifer, we appreciate you coming on the podcast. You've been speaking out like crazy. And I know I don't know if it sounds like it's hurt your business a little bit. It sounds like other people are rallying behind you and other people are speaking up because of your inspiration. And we really appreciate you coming here. We don't do this for a living. This isn't what we do. This isn't our day job. And it's so important to see people who do this for a living and have a huge platform and have a huge audience actually speak up. And we also want to hear about you and how you got this resilience and how you're able to kick ass every single day. So Jennifer, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. Please give us a little background.
Wow, I think you just gave a great background. I don't want to bore people with that whole like diatribe again. I think you did a fantastic job. And it's my pleasure to be here. It really is. And, you know, to say I kick ass every day is very much a very kind thing to say, but I have lots of bad days like everybody else, but I've now trained myself that no matter how many times I get pushed down, I just get myself right back up again and keep going. And that's basically the secret sauce to anybody's success. And and I mean, like this whole thing happening with Israel right now is just another example of, you know, Israel's resilience and having to fight just another fight. You know, this, by the way, I should tell you, and I think that we've talked about this maybe offline, is, you know, it's amazing how people say all the time to me, oh, you know, like, thank you for speaking up and thank you for doing what you're doing. And thank you for basically like using your platform. And it really is interesting because to me, that should not be the unusual thing. That should be the norm. And the fact that so many people that do have a platform are not saying anything and they're staying silent because they're scared of losing followings or their followers, losing business deals, or, you know, being ostracized by whoever may ostracize them. I find that to be a really sad place that we are in society when, you know, I feel like it should be like the norm and like, yeah, of course I'm speaking out. I mean, the Jewish people are being totally, we're being totally we're being ostracized. We're being lied upon. No one is speaking out on our behalf. And so when we have that situation, the onus is on us, like obviously, like I said, to speak out and to be mouthpieces, because if you don't do it, who will? And, you know, I just feel like if this is anything, I feel like people should not just praise the people who are doing it, but they should too be out there using their voice, no matter how big, no matter how small. Every 1, 2, 3, 4 person people count, you know, it's a ripple effect. And don't just rely on the 5 people who are the most well-known and who are speaking out, like the same 5 people. So say, right, Michael Rappaport, Deborah Messing. It's like I'm tired of seeing the same people. Thank God for them, but there's lots of us out there who need to, you know, get over their fears, put on their big boy or big girl panties, and go and do what they have to do.
Yeah, it's a huge thing. What we've done is we've advocated we're in the financial services business, financial advisory, insurance, and we've advocated a lot of the financial institutions that were sitting silent and has said, if you don't say something, you're going to lose our business, because their big fear is, oh, if we say nothing, then we're not going to lose anyone's business. But I said to them, and we made it very, very clear that if you say nothing, that means that you're being complacent with the norm. If the norm is anti-Semitism and the norm is hatred against Jews, then we will not be back. We will not be in your corner. And we're mammoth producers for some insurance companies, and we've literally steered our business away from them. What they told me offline is, of course we're against anti-Semitism. Of course we're behind you. I go, really? Then how come you don't say anything? He goes, well, we don't want to talk about political issues. I go, when is anti-Semitism political? And we don't have, I mean, we have a great clientele list. We have a lot of business owners that follow us and listen to us, but we might not have as large of an audience as you, but everybody has to do this. If everybody takes their part, then we can really overcome evil. And that's really what the battle is. It's an easy conversation to have for
This is
people.
really about good versus evil. And anybody that doesn't realize and recognize that is just putting on their blinders. And anybody that thinks that they could just, ignore it and it's going to go away, they're wrong. It's going to come back to them at one place or another. If they don't speak now, they're just going to be part of the silent majority. I was in Israel a couple of weeks ago also. There's a waitress there. She says, oh, I thought the whole world hated us. I says, you know what? I get a lot of support. We're at seminars. People come up to me. We support Israel. But these are the silent majority that have to also speak up.
Yeah, I actually really appreciate and like the fact that you said that, Yair, that you're taking you're taking on the approach of, you know what, like, let me switch this on you. How about if you don't speak up, I will take business away from you, which is I think that's a really amazing, and I just think that's a really courageous thing to do. And I hope that people follow follow you in those footsteps, because I think that's the problem. We're being too polite. We're being too courteous. We're not taking that stance enough. And so people are getting away with it, right? And the truth is, there is a complicit nature in that silence, right? If you are saying nothing, you are saying it's okay. And that's how the Holocaust happened, because people may have thought, oh yeah, this is really scary and this is really horrible, but they never actually said anything about it or did anything about it. Did you see that thing about British Airways and then how they retracted what they just said? It's because people stood up for it. Jewish people said something. We were the squeaky oil. We were the squeaky wheel.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of these companies are going to say stuff and then they're taking it away. They're scared. They're really, really scared, which is honestly, I find that kind of pathetic. You're supposed to stand for something and stand against hate. That's huge. Sorry, I know we were talking about that. You lost some business from it. Do you feel like you've also gained a lot of business from being as outspoken as you are right now? Obviously, you've gained friends.
I think.
Climbing's
I've gained friends. Exact. Thank you. You know what? The way I see it is, I probably have lost business. Not probably, I have. I've lost some work friends, but at the same time, everything evens itself out, right? I lost the things probably that weren't really aligned with me in the first place, which is probably a good thing. And I gained friends and relationships and people that were much more not just aligned with my belief system and my core belief system, but really what really is something that I'm extremely passionate about. And I'm not going to be quiet. I'm compelled to keep on talking. And I'm also compelled to be a voice for what's right. And people will find you. I feel like at the beginning when this was happening, I was kind of like, holy crap, look what's going on with my business. But you know what? Water always finds its level. And I just feel like what's more important? Fortunately, I'm not destitute. And I actually also believe in myself enough where I feel like things will work out the way they're supposed to. And if I was only motivated by the bottom line financially, then, that's a really sad place to be. There's some things in life where that has to take a back seat and you have to do what's right. You have to not just only do what's right, but you have to do what you feel is the right thing to do, and not be fearful of what what may fall. And I think that is why we're in this situation we are, right? Is that most people are so fearful of doing what is right where this is happening. And I just won't allow that to be who I am. My entire philosophy, my entire platform is about speaking up, asking for what you want, being bold, not shying away from the hard things, putting in the hard work. And that is like, I am my message, and I'm not going to shy away from that.
Well, people see that as you being authentic. That's how we see it. It's you're a real person. You are who you are to your core, and that's why you're able to get hit and get back up, because it's who you are. You have no other option, because you have to continue living your life. You're not playing two sides or playing two different people. You're really just exactly
I think that's why you're a good
are.
fit, because that's how we are also. We're genuine, we're true to ourselves. We have to be true to ourselves and speak about what we believe and what we know is right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. People have never said that. People have never told me that I'm dishonest. That's something that my Canadian accent is coming out now. But people have never said to me that I'm dishonest in my life. It's there's a lot of Canadians here. I'm the least Canadian, but there's a lot of Canadians here. How are you coaching people who are going through a hard time right now, that are, let's say, Jewish or high performers or entrepreneurial, and they're feeling like there's a lot against them and there's a lot that's working against them? How do you coach those entrepreneurs and business owners and people that you've been coaching?
Well, I'm not a coach, actually, to be honest with you. So I really don't do coaching per se. I do much more speaking in big groups, or I write the books.
That's what I mean. More like, how are you educating?
Really, I'm just like, I'm doing podcasts a lot with people who I feel who are smarter than I am in this area, and allowing them to have another platform to kind of shed some light on the facts of what's really happening. Facts, not TikTok reels and videos, but the actual that are just made up nonsense, but like people who have a history, a background of knowledge and education and real life experience. I interviewed the son of Hamas, as you know, and Eli Levy from, who's a spokesperson for the Israeli government, Hen Mazik, people who've dedicated their lives really to fighting this fight. That's one thing I'm doing. And then in terms of overall, I wrote this book called Bigger, Better, Bolder, which is really not about Israel, but it's about the principles of how to stand up for yourself and how to be authentic and live in alignment with who you are, and curate the life and design the life you want. And so I wrote that book, and I speak about it. I did a TED Talk about it. And, like I said, I do a lot of, I try to kind of just use my big loud voice and my platform and do all the things to really kind of get people to do tomorrow what they don't feel confident to do today.
I mean, it's amazing what you're doing, and I am a proud owner of that book. It's coming. Amazon delayed my shipment. I'm sorry. I am excited. There was a time when I first started my business, and before I brought my dad into the business, my first year was just about like survival, because I'm young. I'm just finished college. I went to Rutgers. Which is right now a little dicey to say I went to Rutgers. I'm not so thrilled about it. But my first year, I did. Yeah, it's better than Harvard right now. But I wrote a check to myself my first year. I said, you know what? I'm going to make it in this world. I'm going to make it here. So I wrote a check to myself. I dated it a year in the future. I wrote to myself, yeah, you're climbing. It was like August 1st, 2016. I wrote to August 1st, 2017, $250,000. That was my goal my first year. And I hit that. And it was more like Be Tenacious was my first year. And then in 2017, I was like, oh my God, how can I do that again? $250,000. The most anybody in college is making 70. And then I went to one of my coaches and one of my mentors at the time. I said, how am I going to do another 250? He goes, you got to write a check now for 500,000 your following year. So I wrote that check. So I still have those on my wall. And then 500 grew and grew and grew. And it was about, and in that second year, my line was be bold.
Really?
And my line was be bold, and I put it in the memo of my check, and that was my goal for my second year was, okay, you did it your first year, you killed yourself to do it. Now be bold and push yourself harder. And I think it's a great way to look at entrepreneurship and look at life, that you can be bold and you can take things on that not necessarily you can be successful. And when I worked at Merrill, they said, no, you're never going to make it. Your first year out of college, you're going to make 60 to 80,000, and the peak of your career, you're going to make 1 to 2 million. And I said, no, I'm going to make 150 to 175 my first year, and I'm going to make $4 to $6 million a year of income. But at the peak of my career, I actually think that I a little undersold myself, but they all laughed at me, and that's why I never worked at Merrill longer than that. That was the last day of my career there. I went, these are not the guys that I want to, or guys and girls I want to surround myself with.
I love that.
But it's this. The check thing
That's
was the
amazing.
best.
So everyone listen to that. I like that. Make a clip of that. Put in the subject line, write a check to yourself and write be bold. So you made the 500,000, I guess, right? And then you made $1 million and another 2 million.
Of course.
Did you put be bold? And
yeah.
And now here we are. But did you put be bold?
I had to keep change it. Now it's like I just had a conversation before, and I'm trying to figure out my 2024. I think now that the businesses are cooking and they're running and I have a great staff and I don't need to be as much in it, I'm cleaning up my business, because that's kind of what happens. You take everybody that wants to talk to you and you slowly get rid of the ones that you don't want. I'm trying to figure out what my 2024 goal is. I think it's more like be a visionary. I think that's really where I want to do. And that's kind of why I started the podcast, and that's why we are loving it. It's amazing. We had Harel Khorev, who's like one of the Middle East experts in the world and he's on like BBC Arabic, he's on Al Jazeera, he's Israeli, and he gets right on, and he's amazing. Like the information we're sitting there, we're supposed to be interviewing him and giving our information. We're like, this is too we're like, how come we never heard of this?
Why is the West Bank not the same area now as Gaza? Those are my own questions.
100%.
What's going to happen after the war is over? How's Gaza going to happen? He mentioned something that was crazy to me. I knew years ago in the 6-Day War, the Arabs, the Palestinians had school books that said, how many, by their math lessons, how many Jews were killed, take away 7 Jews, kill 5, how many are left? But he says that they're still doing that. They still have those kind of textbooks.
Those kids
are still being brainwashed that way.
That's
and if they
crazy.
Don't change the educational system, nothing's going to change. It doesn't make a difference.
I agree.
And we had the parents of Rose Lubin, who was from Atlanta, and she was killed in the Jaffa Gate, I believe.
Wow, you guys are getting great guests. How many?
Yeah, they were amazing.
How many people do you have? I'm gonna be very bold. I know we talked about this offline. I want you to buy a book for every one of your customers to be bold.
I'm done.
How many customers do you have?
That's fine. No. We have a lot of customers. You're gonna financially hurt
I don't
us
think
a
so.
little bit. We have about 1,600. We have about 1,600 personal clients of ours.
Let's give a Jewish deal.
Yeah, I'll give you exactly. We could work. I'll get my publisher to work out a bulk deal with you, because you should send everyone a book about being bold.
We just sent. I don't know if you got yours in the mail. We sent you.
I know.
Your necklace.
I've been looking every day. By the
you.
way, I haven't gotten it yet.
It's coming. It's on its way.
It's a mail. But someone, Hey Jude, I think it is. I was going to send this to you. Hey Jude Jewelry gave me this beautiful.
Oh yes. I saw them. I saw them online.
They're beautiful. Star of David. It's a really beautiful necklace, and they're giving a percentage of the sales to Israel. So I would love for anybody to, support them.
Is that the one that has Shema on it? Or
no, they have one I think they probably have one that says it. This is just like a very small Star of David.
Because there was a campaign at the beginning by Rabbi Rimon, who was actually just in Englewood.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
The necklaces that the soldiers would have a Shema on it. And when they go out in combat, that's what they would have around the neck before the the free hostages one that we're wearing. I had one, but I gave it away. So I
Oh,
have to get another
wow.
one.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. This one is a girl. I don't know. Her husband is like very involved. He's Israeli. They're jewelers. I mean, that's really all I know, but they're doing all sorts of like nice, beautiful stuff.
You know what we should do, Dad? We should have for our client, for our onboarding package, we should have
That's a
Jennifer's book.
great idea. Don't think you're getting away with not getting the
Yeah.
book for Christmas. It's a perfect time right now. It's a
not-
Christmas gift or Hanukkah
We're
holiday gift.
Holiday, yes.
Gift.
Holiday. Happy holiday.
Whatever, but it could be Christmas. We could do it for Christmas. We got plenty of people who aren't
There
Jewish,
you go.
but you know, it's amazing. They're all reaching out because they're like in support of the Jews. They're like, we love the Jews, and we're like, we love you too. We love everybody. We just like people. We got no problem. So, what do you, Jennifer? You've been so impactful for people's lives. I know you talk about money and you talk about that type of conversations with people, and we find that when people are avoiding money, they typically don't have it. But when people talk more about money with their families, it helps them build wealth and helps them grow. What do you think about that? What do you think about how are you talking and broaching people and educating people about talking about money?
You know, it's so funny that you just asked me that because I've never been someone to shy away from that topic of money. And I know people get very uncomfortable. Like even as a small kid, like when I was 4, I would ask people like, what do you do? How much money do you make? How did you make your money? How much money do you have in your purse? Like whatever it was.
Ear used to do the same thing. Ear used to do the same
Really?
thing. You'd ask, how much does that guy make? Ear, you're not supposed to ask that. I want to know.
Him and I
how
are
much
very...
does he make? How much do you make?
Very
similar.
Yeah, continue, Jennifer.
My dad, now he had an excuse to find out what people made.
There's nothing like getting a tax return, but my dad will interrupt until you die. Keep telling us.
You guys are hysterical. My son, by the way, does the same thing now. But like, I always ask, like, how much did you pay for your house? How much was your outfit? I always wanted to know how much everything costs. So I can tell you how much a carton of milk costs at Whole Foods versus at that grocery store by the cents. So I've never been someone to shy away from that. And I always talk about money. If someone asks me now, like, how much money do you make? I'll tell them, around how much money I make. I feel like it's one of those things where there's, I don't know why people have like such I don't know, not just a secrecy, but there's such like embarrassment or privacy around it, which I never really understood. So my thing is like the second you put something out there, it takes away the taboo feeling, right? Like anything you talk about makes it less weird or taboo if you put it out there into the universe. So that's how I've led my life with everything, money just being one of them. I teach my kids about money. Like I'll say, like, that's really expensive. That camp is even expensive. Like that's going to cost, like, I want my kids to understand that, like, what the value of $1 really means. So they can grow up understanding that money, doesn't grow on trees. And there is like a direct correlation between work and making money. And I think if you start with that, if you start young and start kids young with that, it shifts their perspective as opposed to this thing like, like my kids now will always be like, Mom, my kids are very conscientious where they'll be like, yeah, I really want to go to, like, for an example, my little one wanted to go to this aerial camp, where they do aerial, for whatever reason, super expensive camp.
Yeah, of course.
And for the winter holidays for a few days. And she's like, you know what, Mom, I remember it was very expensive. It was 4 times the price of the other gymnastic place. Like, she remembered me talking about this. I don't really need to go, which is like, I'm like, no, I'm going to send you. You know why I'm going to send you, Sydney? Because you were a good girl. You did this, you did that. You earned it. You worked hard. And that could be your treat, or that could be your Hanukkah present. And so they don't grow up being spoiled, bratty kids where they think that everything is just coming to them and they feel entitled to everything. Let people know early on that everything has a value and you have to work and, to get what that thing is. And so that's how that's what I do. And, like I said, I have no problem or qualm, having that out in the open.
So my
Yeah,
father
it's
also
really
was
amazing.
never, they were never affected by what other people did. My parents always had their own value system. Also, not to give away anything. You have to earn it to make it. So I would say to my father, Dad, everybody else, all my friends are getting color TV. He says to me, yeah, you have color TV, black and white.
Yeah. I love that. That's awesome.
He had a lot of these. He had a lot of these. He had a lot of these one-liners. Are you finding? So what we've seen a lot is that when people don't talk about money, they lose the ability to talk to their friends and family about opportunities there are. So it's if someone's underpaid and they're not talking about their finances and they're talking to their colleagues, they can find out that they're actually making the least in the office or they're making the least of their friends. Doctors, for example, are the most underpaid people over time, that they'll stay in one position, they'll never know, they never think about it. And the next thing you know, they go, oh, well, they talk to one of their friends. They're like, he's at the same hospital, he's at the same level as me, but he's making $150,000 less than me. It's very interesting. So, and also there's opportunities out there. We know so many clients that were sitting money in the bank at Chase Bank when you can get a high yield savings at 5%, or they're putting their money into the 401k and they're just putting into the default account and they're not actually strategizing their 401k, or they have old 401ks that they haven't rolled over. You get information by surrounding yourself with the right people and the right knowledge. And there's so much information out there.
Also asking questions. Like that's my entire thing. How do you know what you don't know? You only know by asking questions, right? Like, how do you know that you can make a 5% yield on that if you're too scared to even put that out there and ask that question?
Exactly. It's the fear of the unknown that people don't want to ask the questions. They're afraid of the answers. They'll find out that they're way behind or that there's a big problem.
Or I think people are more nervous about, like, they don't want to seem pushy. They don't want to seem like they're being, rude. They don't want to do this. They don't want to know. They'd rather bury their head in the sand than ask these questions that may be uncomfortable a lot of times.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. We find that a lot.
So Jennifer, we love hearing from successful people who have overcome obstacles in their life, what one of their defining moments was that allowed them to constantly push through. Is there a moment in your life that you said, I'm going to be something more than what I was before and I'm never going to look back? I mean, I'm sure you had that moment and I'm sure you've discussed that moment. What was that moment for you?
I had that moment. I mean, listen, I've had that moment in different periods of my life, but the one pivotal moment that's pretty well known, actually, I did a TED Talk and it went viral because of this, is when I was 17 years old, I wanted to do a demo tape. Because I wanted to be a VJ for Much Music, which is kind of the equivalent to like a MTV, for Americans. You know what Much Music is? Do you remember that? No, not really. Okay. Anyway, it's like it was a thing. It was very, very popular back in the day. And Keanu Reeves was coming to my hometown to do a play, and he was at the pinnacle of his career. He, by the way, still is. He's one actor or movie star that's never lost any cachet. It's quite amazing. But he was huge at that time. And I said to myself, I really need to make a demo tape and I need them to watch it. I'm going to go get Keanu Reeves to be on that demo tape. And I told that to my family and my friends. And everyone, of course, thought I was crazy and they laughed at me. And they were like, who are you? Yeah, you're going to go get Keanu Reeves. He's going to go do your demo tape. Yeah. And I'm like, no, I am. I'm going to do it. And of course, no one believed me. And I went and I stood outside the theater that he was performing Hamlet in. And because he was doing it he did it in my hometown purposefully because he didn't want a lot of media to find him. Well, of course they did. And I sat outside and it was -40 outside when I was doing this. And I waited and Winnipeg. And I was frostbitten. And an hour later, I finally see a door open. He comes out and there's like hundreds of girls swarming around him and all the press was swarming around him. And I was frozen. And I was like, okay, here's my moment. So I walked with all the other people and wiggled my way through all the crowds, and I tug on his jacket, and he looks around and looks down at me, and he's like, "Yes, I know you want an autograph. Can you please wait?" And I'm like, autograph? Why would I want your autograph? What's that going to do for me? I need more than an autograph from you. I need your help. You're going to get me my dream job. And he was so confused, so perplexed. And he looked at me and he was like, what? Huh? Like, he's like, I don't even understand what this girl's saying. And I repeated myself over and over again. And he was like being pulled in all these crazy directions. And he's like, you know what? Just write down your phone number, like little girl, and I'll call you. And of course, I'm like, you're not going to call me. You're going to say you're going to call. You're not really going to call. I'm going to sit by the phone, And he's like, oh my God, this girl. So I basically got some like gum wrapper and put my phone number on it. And I handed it to him. And then I went to school the next day and I told my friends what I did. And I told my mom and my dad and everyone was like, oh my God, like you're too much. Like you're such a character. He's never going to call. And I'm like, okay, well. And then everyone started to make fun of me. Day 2, day 3, day 4, nothing, no phone call, no nothing. And then day 5, I come home and my mom is like, did you listen to the answering machine? And I was like, no. And I listened to my machine. And then lo and behold, Keanu Reeves was on the machine, leaving me all these messages about being like, you're saying, is Jennifer there? I got some random, I think I met her at this thing and she was saying something. Anyway, long story short, next thing you know, I'm picking up Keanu Reeves in my mom's Cutlass Supreme, taking him home. My mom made him lunch. All my friends who kind of believed in me, because there weren't many, had all these amateur camcorders like set up for me. And I interviewed this guy for like 2.5 hours. And yeah, wow. And the rest is history. And so that moment showed me very clearly that you have to ask for what you want in life. And you never know. You never know what can happen. Like don't let people like unmet dreams squash yours. And
Absolutely.
I feel like you got to put yourself out there because you never know what the outcome is. And the truth of the matter is you may not get to that goal, but by doing doing all those things, you will get another opportunity that you never even knew existed by just putting yourself in those.
You never know what can happen.
You never know.
You never know what can happen.
My entire life is based around me throwing a lot of crap at the wall. And some things are going to stick, some things won't, but I'll never count myself out. I will never self-reject myself, and I'll always
never
believe
be discouraged.
things, what is the worst thing that can happen? No, what is the worst thing that can happen? And why not me? If it can happen to that schmo, it can happen to me. So let me try. And I live my life by that.
We've had an incredible amount of people on that have all had the exact same line. So Kendall Cross, Olympic gold medalist, Ellie Beer, United Hatsala. We've had all these amazing people, the Lubin family, Avner Kron, Ayal Yecheska, all these incredible people who have built enormous companies, people who've recreated texting for the entire world, said the one line, and they're all saying the same thing. Why not me? And I love that. And that's how I honestly grew up. It's, why can't I do it? I never felt they were much smarter than me. I just felt I can do it. And we can just, and the beauty of it and what you're saying is so impactful for people that if you just step up and do, you're going to change something. And that's really what you're doing. I wouldn't say you're much of a thinker, you're a doer. And when you do and you get in, you're going to figure it out and you're going to build your surroundings. Jennifer, is there any tips that you want to give our listeners, tips, business owners?
Okay, yes, and they can find all my tips. How about that?
And throw the tip in at the same time.
Okay, but this is an easy tip, okay? Tip 1, exercise every day and in the morning, because it will prime your brain for being more productive, more alert, more focused. Physical strength builds mental strength. And so do that. That's one tip. Second tip is follow me at the Real Jen Cohen on Instagram. And you can also go to jennifercohen.com and sign up for my newsletter where you'll get tips every week. Follow me on YouTube at Habits and Hustle. listen to my podcast called Habits and Hustle, buy my book, Bigger, Better, Bolder. And go ahead.
And do a little bit every day. And last thing, we're going to give $2,000 to a charity of your choice. Jennifer,
thank you.
Which charity and where are we going to do it?
I want to do the charity that you said. I think you were telling me about something that I really loved, and that was to buy boots and socks for the IDF soldiers in Israel fighting. And so I want the money that you would, the $2,000 to go to the soldiers for boots and socks.
Absolutely. Jennifer, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We know you have a lot going on. We love you. We appreciate what you're doing. You're saving lives. You're changing the world, and you're being bold every single day. And you're emboldening what the American dream is and what people can come from when they come from Canada and they harass Keanu Reeves and they harass all these other people. We really appreciate what you're doing. Keep doing keep building and keep growing. And thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, guys. It was really fun. I appreciate it.